What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Wednesday here on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. I'm Dave Gluckner. That's Marc Tomasini. We are Philly Fourth and Go, talking Philly sports, 4 for 4, plus so much more. And it's a hype night. It's an exciting night. I'm calling it a winning Wednesday because I'm ignoring what's on the diamond, and we're going to get right to football. But before we all do all that, and we will get to the diamond, we will.
We will.
Give you Philly passion and pride. But before we do all that, let me bring in my man, Marc Tomasini, the Phillies sports source, I always like to say.
I thought you were going to call me the Philly special. I was going to be like, interesting.
No.
Yes. What up? What up? It is actually a winning Wednesday if you're an Eagles fan. And we're literally just going to base it on the fact that you're an Eagles fan because it was a hell of a Monday night. What a treat. Going to get into all that and more. Fall's in the air. I think it's officially fall now. So, it's football season. Now we're in it and we're strapped in. Hope you have your seatbelt on because it's going to be a bumpy ride. But a lot of good stuff to go over. A lot of good stuff, I got to say.
Yeah, I love talking, football, obviously, with you guys. Let me bring in my man, Adam Cease. Thanks for checking in, buddy. I tried to get down to the stadium. Some plans got fizzled, but we'll catch up one of these games coming up here soon. But I'm glad you got to enjoy it live in person, seeing that awesome whooping right in front of you. And we'll get to that. But, Marc, I want to just – I played a clip from our NFL preview, and I tweeted it out last week. I said that the way I saw this potentially going, and we talked about it, I know we gave our preview and our picks, but really I thought of that a Minnesota win in Green Bay would overhype Minnesota. A close Eagles win versus Detroit may undervalue the Eagles. I think we saw that exact thing happen on Monday night. Where are the Eagles? Where are the Vikings? Maybe a little bit in between, but I'll tell you what you saw the Vikings on the road in a primetime spot is probably what you get of the Vikings. I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah.
But what we saw the Eagles, I might even think we have a little more. We didn't score in the second half, didn't need to, which I was fine with. Again, like a Detroit game, you win the game, and they won with margin, they won with space, and it was a beating on every aspect of the game from special teams, good, and they had that clown back there fielding punts, bad. Defense domination and offense domination. It was just a really fun game, and something that we'll talk more about in a minute, but something that got us excited. So, what's your overall take from Monday night?
Overall take, a lot of good things. I would say let's get to the bad first. I agree with you. They didn't score in the second half. Would have liked to have seen that, but it wasn't like they were terrible. I really think they had the opportunities. The offense was not stagnant. They still were able to move the ball. It really was more of which I don't love that they didn't, put their foot on their necks.
Yeah.
I really think they probably had a couple of chances to do it. They got a little soft in their area. That's okay. But I thought I'm thinking I thought I had another point, but nothing too bad. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm starting to become a believer.
Yeah.
And like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope my take was wrong. I know you feel the same. Jalen Hurts had a hell of a game last night or Monday night. I got to give it to him. Look, I want him to succeed. I want him to be the franchise quarterback. You have 2 first-round picks this year. Your team can only get better after this season if he ends up being the guy. I saw a lot of good things out of him. I'm seeing more progression reads. I'm just seeing better decisions. I'm seeing a little strength under that arm. Again, not saying he's, Pat Mahomes. But if that's the trend, if that's where he's trending, this team's in good hands right now. I'll tell you. So the offense played really well. They got Devontae involved early, which they needed to do. They needed to establish him. The run looked good. It was just a great game. It was, and the defense, they blitzed at the right times. There was, Gannon only blitzed a couple times, and I know you were worried about that last week, that he didn't do enough. I definitely think he had his players in the right position this week. And I did say last week that I thought just there were a lot of missed tackles in the Detroit game. They cleared that up. And I saw a lot of cornerbacks jumping routes, not beforehand, but able to come from behind and get in front of the ball without pass interference. I just saw a lot of really good things on both sides of the ball for this team.
Yeah. Overall, just, when you walk out there 24/7 versus a quality opponent, I'll still give them credit to be quality. I mean, in all aspects, it's a good win. And I talked about it earlier, like I said, I can't find a way off 12. I even think I was closer to 13, but I settled on 12. You're right around 11, right?
No, I think
I could even
12 as well. For the
you
Eagles?
had 12 as well.
Yeah, 12.
All right, yeah. I thought last week you were talking about 11. I'm with you. I thought we were close. So both on 12, right? And I thought even with the loss last week, 12 was still hard not to get. And now they get that win, and this team is really starting to build that BDE, that energy that a lot of the nation is really starting to see, and they're just starting to take notice of what the Eagles are all together, right? And it's a full team. It's a team that there are no weaknesses per se. I still have some concerns a little bit about the pass rush. Hassan Reddick really not looking like what we signed him for, and some other things. But in the end, this is the team that they can only get better as long as they stay healthy. They can only just gel as a team, and that's what I thought Gannon did this week, and that's really where my transition point is. He took a beating in week 1. But he found, and you're right, I mean, it's almost like pressing the button, right every time, right? He saw the right opportunity blitz, and got him. And he just added that he was just in the game and had a fantastic game. And if he was a weakness in week 1, he sure fixed it in week 2. Let me ask you this, Dan Green, thanks for checking in. Yo, I do have some NFL picks for you. I'll text you those later, but if you hang in, I'll give you my 3-pack as well. I think I can get you back on the winning track. But what I was going to say, give me your, we always like to go through this. Give me your offensive player of the game. I think this one's easy, but I'm going to give it to you first.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
You can't not. I mean, he played like a real quarterback. He looked like a real quarterback out there. And, people say, if he's a running back, when he just doesn't, like, he won the game in Detroit with his feet for the most part. Him and AJ had a really good connection, but it wasn't complete. It wasn't really spread all around. Like I said, he got Devontae involved early. That's what they needed to do. They established that. They did a lot of good things. Jalen Hurts was great. I mean, it like 330 yards, 2 rushing TDs, passing TD. Like, that's all I need. It was fantastic. That was my offensive player of the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I'll go, the JV player of the game, but it's Devontae Smith for me. Yep. And we knew he had to get involved. We knew early and often, but for him to really come through too, because what we saw in week 1 was him outside the hashes, right? Mainly on the numbers. And when Jalen rolled out, he got him a couple balls, but they just didn't connect. This was over the middle. This was slants. This was comebacks. This was square ends. This is places where Devontae needs to, live a little bit, and then we get him burning up the sidelines. And to see him to be really able to eat there, I was really, really happy with. And I think A.J. Brown, the player that he is, was as pumped as he could be to see his brother over there getting those kind of receptions. So,
and you say that, and there's, I think when Hurts scored the first, not the 30-yard touchdown, the first touchdown. You see the way that Devontae celebrates that. Like, the thing is, like, he could be like, all right, cool. Like, whatever, we scored. Great. Like, cool. Like, I'm all for the team. But he did like almost like a Tiger Woods, like, fist pump, like, into the ground. Like, first he did like the hands up, and then he did like a whole, like, pulled the fist back type of thing. Like, this team is gelling right now. I think a lot of that has to do with Jalen. Again, I know it sounds crazy if this coming from me, but like I said, trending in the right direction, moving forward, liking what I saw from him last night. Need more of that. You can sell me on this. You can sell me on this. I can get there. Like, it, this isn't my Ben Simmons take where I was just never ever going to appreciate what Ben Simmons was. This is, I'm ready.
Yeah, and in the next aspect of the offense, that Quez Watkins bomb was probably the the one that took the cap off it, right? It just really opened things up, and beautiful read. And that's really where we are on Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
For me, him maturing as a quarterback is be able to read that safety, make that one. And listen, all he saw was the safety make that one half full step to the right, and he was ripping it long. That's beautiful football. He didn't have to wait and see that safety move over 3, 4, 5 steps before he ripped it. And it's just awesome to see the maturation. And, I think here's a good point. Let me throw this up there. I agree. But let's be careful because it's the same kind of recipe I gave last week. And I was telling Marc because I thought San Fran was an easy play last week. And that's because Seattle came off that huge Monday night victory over Denver, right? The Russell Wilson Bowl. I feel like the Eagles might have a similar situation. I'm not saying they're going to go and lose in Washington, but what I am saying is I'm a little fearful of the letdown too. This is going to be big on the coaches, making sure they keep these guys, focused on the task and not let them, like you said, smell themselves. So it is a little dangerous spot because the other team on the other side might have even a little more motivation. But with that said, defensively, who was your player?
Darius Slay. I mean, I think that was pretty easy. Two interceptions, 5 pass deflections. He was all over the place. And the thing is, before his second interception, he hurt himself when he dropped another interception, and he was having a hip issue. And they were about to bring Zach McPherson on the field, and then he waved him off and put him back, and then he made the play. Next, I mean, you look at it, the stat line, the box score tells you this is where numbers don't lie. Justin Jefferson had 48 yards receiving.
Yeah, he should have had 5 picks, obviously. And then Dan taking my thunder. Mine is Edwards. I thought TJ Edwards was amazing. It started from the first play of the game, him being able to get Dalvin Cook out on the side there, ended up with 10 tackles, 7 solo. His ability to really cover sideline to sideline, horizontally, it's just amazing. It's something that we're not used to seeing. And I know we had him last year and he played well, but I don't know if it's the Kazir White factor or just be more comfortable in his role now. He looks like a different player this year. Yeah. He's special, man. He is really good.
I was excited about him a while ago. I remember he was undrafted, I think, out of Nebraska or Wisconsin, one of those schools. And he was just a guy who was, 4-year starter for them. He was a legit player and made a lot of noise. And just, I think he might have had some injury concerns. And, he was a good player. And I remember, man, if you get a good Big Ten linebacker like that, who can just come in and play, and he's shown it. Last year, he took his step forward because I believe this is his third or fourth year, I believe. Yeah. Yep. He's been here for a little bit.
He's Wisconsin, I think third, but I
think he was more of a special teamer his rookie year, just contributing where he could. Took a step forward last year, but he's a real linebacker now, and it's great to see. And I think it, like you said, with Kazir White being here, I think that helps him. I think he has an experienced linebacker next to him, and it takes the pressure off of him. Like you said, his sideline to sideline is Luke Kuechly. I mean, if he looks like him out there sometimes with his speed and what he can do.
He does. I'm not, obviously Kuechly was.
We're not anointing him that, obviously.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that you bring that up just from a standpoint. It's a little bit of different defensive formation, but his ability to be in every play, he's on every play. And that's the Kuechly kind of comparison that I think Dan's making. I agree with, going to be a little different from, Kuechly could just smell out that play from early on. When we start seeing that from Edwards, because that guy was jumping over, tackles before, at the snap. He just had a knack. He was amazing. But, the last thing I'll wrap up with the Minnesota game real quick here is, listen, Justin Jefferson's great. We get it. And you said they shut him down. They shut down Cook too. And really, I think a lot of that goes back to just Gannon having some familiarity with that team and their skill sets. Sure. He doesn't have familiarity with Kevin O'Connell, everything.
It's new offense in there.
Right. But he had some familiarity and he really played it well. But it all boils down to Cousins. And it's funny because Cousins scares me none, right? Zero. But he'll pop a game once in a while, right? And then he does this. I haven't seen a quarterback that is can have these swings that are so wild from end to end. Like he really looks like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL and can look maybe in the top 10. I'm not going to quite give him much higher than that. He's polarizing to me, and as a fan, he would drive me absolutely apeshit. I couldn't like a guy like that. This guy is just he's so inconsistent.
You know what's crazy? And I'll be honest about this. In one of my fantasy leagues, so I have Tom Brady as my quarterback for 2 of my fantasy leagues, and he is now, kind of been he's been doo-doo. I actually picked up Cousins against the Lions this week because I think he's going to have a bounce back game.
Yep.
I really do. But I completely agree with you. Like, his record in prime time, I don't think he's ever won a Monday night game.
Well, he's 2-10 on Monday night now.
2-10?
2-10. Yeah, he beat. Okay. So what happened was he beat the Bears twice in the last year or two. Like it was 0-7 and 2.
That's why. Okay.
9 and
yeah. So obviously, like he has to do well, but again, going back to what. It's funny because going into this game, everyone's like, oh, the Vikings had a big win against the Packers. Like, they're legit. They're legit. The way the Eagles beat them, everyone's like, the Vikings aren't that good. It's like, no, I still think the Vikings are a very good team.
Yep.
I really do. I think they have a lot of talent. I think the Eagles were just ready for this game. I think the Vikings do have a little bit of a primetime curse. Cousins does. But at the same time, like, they're still a good team. And Eagles earned that win 100%. This was no fluke. I agree with Dan. You don't want to smell yourself, but at the same time, I feel something. I feel something with this team. I really do.
So Cousins, I thought, is actually 2-10 straight up and against the spread, but I could be. Yeah, there's some mixed things out there. A few different ones because you can look at primetime games and just Monday Night Football and just Sunday night. So it's ass, whatever it is. He stinks, and but in the heart of hearts, I picked Minnesota to win that division. I'm still not off them. I'm just more concerned about their defense. Like they really played this shell. And last year they were bad. I think they were 26th overall defense. And now I'm just like, man, if they don't get that fixed, I have more concerns about them than I did prior. But if they can show a little bit of life, I do think there's enough in that kind of Minnesota offense to be able to win that division still. So I'm with you. I think they're still a decent team.
I got to call a timeout right here. I don't know if you have the Phillies game on in the background. Real Muto started the inning with a solo, and they've had, 3 hits now, but Segura scored. It's 3-2, 2 on. Guthrie just hit a single to right. Bierling hit a single to right. Guthrie got on before that. So I'll keep you updated, but Phillies are trying to make some magic. I think this would be humongous for them if they can come back. I know we're going to get to it. Obviously, we're in football, but I just felt that this needed to be noted. Now, the one thing is they finally just took the pitcher who started the inning out for the Blue Jays, so we'll see. But I just wanted to pop that in there.
Yep, no. And you're right, Donatel. And I think it's his first year in Minnesota here. But, they thought he'd be the solution coming in from a Zimmer, a defensive coach who did have a rough year defensively. It's not looking good. Looking like a young Jonathan Gannon.
The thing is,
he's already young. I'm kidding. Yeah.
The one thing about the Vikings is I think they have a good front seven. They have good linebackers. They have a couple good defensive linemen, but they don't really have much when it comes to defensive backfield. And I think that's where their weakness lies. And even though besides Quez in that play, I think AJ and Devontae had a combined 15 catches. No,
it sounds about right.
Something around there.
Yeah.
They didn't kill him, but Hurts was able to do enough through the air. Goddard had a couple of catches, so it was good. But I just think they're lacking. Like you're worried about their defense. I agree because I don't think they have enough help over the top.
Yeah. So moving on to let's kick them to the side and let's talk about Wentz coming. Yes. And it is a big game coming this weekend, and it is the Commanders, and it is a team that's just looking at it from the top view, and they're pretty talented offensively. Gibson's a nice solid running back. Jahan Dotson's been a nice piece out of Penn State. I'm sure a lot of us know about him. Rookie coming in this year. Curtis Samuel looks a little healthy and back to Curtis
Nice.
Samuel.
Yeah.
You got Scary Terry. We'll get into that. And Logan Thomas at tight end is always a tough matchup. So their biggest weakness is the O-line and the guy under center. So hopefully, look, they struggled against Goff. Hopefully, they got that right against Cousins and can carry that into this week. But let's just be honest. It's not the Washington of last year that, God, I forget who they rolled out. I know it was Heineke one game, but that other
Gilbert.
game, what was the guy's name?
Gilbert. What was it? Something? It not
Blaine?
Gilbert.
Blaine Gabbert? No, it was
no, Gilbert.
Yeah, it was Gilbert. It was it'll come to me. Oh, he was horrible. I went to that game on that Tuesday night. It was actually a Tuesday night game.
Kyle Allen was in the mix there too.
They were at a loss for quarterbacks, and that was when we were really taking advantage of teams that didn't have quarterbacks last year. Right? But so all I'm saying is, as much as we probably disrespect Wentz's game, and rightfully so, he's better than what we had to go against last year. So we got to pay attention. We got to be in this game, and we got to square it up because, like Dan said earlier, and like probably some of us understand, it takes a lot to win a football game. We can't smell ourselves, and we can't really take anything for granted.
Yeah. Look, Washington's coming in hungry. They're 0-2.
No, right. 1-1.
Wait.
They beat Jags.
Did they did beat Jacksonville. Okay.
29-22. I had Jacksonville week 1, so
sorry. Okay. Yeah, because that was they came back in that. That's right.
They did. Once through 4 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks in the middle of those, but yeah.
Right. And he did the same thing last week. He threw 3 or 4 touchdowns or this past Sunday, and he threw a bunch of interceptions. I mean, he's slinging the ball, and the Eagles have to be ready for it. I think, the Vikings were slinging the ball, but they also were playing from behind from the jump. It all depends. Really, the Eagles need to set the tone of the game. It's going to be tough. They're going into Washington, and Wentz does have something to play for. He's playing against his old team, and he sees across the sideline that Jalen Hurts, the guy that they brought in, is actually, doing some good things for them. There's a lot riding on this game. I think this is a big win for them. I think this is a win that the Eagles need because they can get a division win under their belt. So there's definitely a lot riding on here. My first key, just like I said, would be that they need to set the tone. They need to get it started early, and the Phillies just tied the game. But with that being said, they need to set the tone. I think if they can do what they did to the Vikings, I think it's going to be a similar type of game because they had the Vikings reeling from the jump. You could see it. They ran the ball, I think, a total of 11 times. 8 of them were by running backs. So 6 for Cook, 2 for Madison. I mean, they had them on their heels the whole game, really. Even with the blocked field goal, they come around, they get the turnover after that. Like I said, I think that's the biggest thing. Go in there. You can't start slow.
No. Look, you're a little ahead of me, but I did put it on my phone here watching it. That was a rope by Schwarber. Rope on 3-1, hang them, bang them. But, you can't go into this, point here. Yeah, yes, I think some defensive teammates will want a piece of Wentz, and I think they're going to get their opportunity for sure. Just can't overplay it, right? And that's really when we get a little aggressive, when we get a little overhyped here, and really want to get that, 11 on his back. We can't just overplay things because that's when the screen game opens up, and that's when some other things that can counter us with. So just discipline is my name of the game this week. The Eagles are a better team. The Eagles should beat the Washington Commanders. They should have no problem scoring against this team. A lot of what you said about being able to run the ball in this matchup looks like another, positive means for them to be able to move the ball. I think all in all, the Eagles are better, and let's be disciplined.
So the thing is, Dave,
let you answer this one. We talked about it real quick, but does it concern you?
It does a little bit. I feel like the Eagles have not been a team dating back to last year. Now, I know they're 2 different teams. Dating back to last year, they let teams that were not good enough hang in there with them. I feel like it's something with this team that they don't they don't make you suffer for it. Mm-hmm. It's too much of a slow death where you have a chance to get life back. I need a little more fire. I could have used another touchdown in the second half. I felt like they were more playing keep away, which, don't get me wrong, I get it, but it's a little worrisome. Just a little bit. I just feel like you need to be able to, if you really want to establish yourself and dominate, you really need to get another, you needed another touchdown there at least. I mean, you couldn't even.
Let me just, real quick on that one. I had no problem with it. Might sound a little surprising, but one of those plays was the block field goal. So they were trying to get, they were getting down there. They were moving the ball. The interception I thought was a little weak, right? I think that Gainwell's got to scoop that in. He did throw into traffic. I get it. But that's off Gainwell's hand. So they were just not, they just weren't as sharp, right? So, But does it concern me? Not too much, because then they still were able to, I still think they had a few possessions here. This one at the end of the game, they ran the ball 3.5 minutes. That's a very effective drive near the end of the game, trying to squeeze the game out. So they still had some key drives and still would be able to pick up some key first down. So I'm not that concerned. And I do think it was one of those, situations where, getting out there with the win was more important than trying to, really press this too much further. So I do agree with going for jugglers, but again, I don't think they weren't trying to slow it down. They were just trying to dominate, and they dominated.
Yeah, I still want a little more. I hope to see that if they get another opportunity in a situation like this, even this week, if it comes to, fruition.
Yep.
Get that extra insurance, get that extra touchdown, whatever it may be. Even kick 2 more field goals if you have to. It just, put the pressure on. Because remember, if they, return that block field goal, it's now
24-14. Yeah.
And it's a whole different game. And now it's only a 2-score game.
Reese Hoskins stinks.
Yeah, he does.
Why the hell why is he still batting 2? Well, I'm watching Baum sit here and get 2-3 hits a game in the 5-6 hole. It's just it's befuddling to me. Anyway, I know we'll get to them in a second. All right, let's go to our predictions for Sunday down in Washington. Marc, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I still feel really good about this team. I don't want to get too caught up in smelling yourselves, because I think that I feel really good about this team right now. Things can change, obviously. It's a week-to-week league. Even if they were to lose, I don't think it would be the end of the world. It doesn't change how I feel about them unless they, completely throw out a clunker, like they have to perform terribly. Like you said, the Eagles are a better team, a better roster, top to bottom on paper, compared to Washington, though they do have some talent. I think Washington the Eagles are going to get up early. I do think that they're not going to completely put their foot on their neck. So I think that we're going to see what Washington has been doing the past 2 weeks. They're a garbage time team that ended up winning a game by coming back big time, by, Wentz being a gunslinger. And then, against Detroit, they were down bad, and yet they still came back, made it somewhat close. I think they lost by 9 or 11. But obviously Detroit was running away with that game, and Wentz just decided to throw it. I think the Eagles get up to like a 21-7 lead, say midway through the third quarter. Washington puts a little pressure on, and then the Eagles actually do run away with it. They get a touchdown early in the fourth, and then, Washington, Wentz makes a mistake, and the Eagles just run the ball out. So I'm going to go 28-14 final in Washington.
Okay, we're going with some margin. I like it. Well, the Eagles, in many of the past few seasons, they've been the better team. Only one year they probably weren't, and that was, the season when Washington ended up winning the division. I think, hold me if I'm wrong, 7-8-1, 7-9. They weren't good, but it's one of those reciprocating years. That's what the NFC East does. They pump out a new champion every single year, and that was back in 2020. And that's the only time Washington's really got us. They won 2 games that year against us, but you take that season out, the Eagles have won the last 8 matchups. You can look at it in a whole. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games against Washington. 4 season sweeps. Washington 1 season sweep. well, who's the better team this year? It's the Philadelphia Eagles. I do have some caution. I think the spread kind of makes me feel like this one's going to kind of teeter on that number most of the game. I'm going to go with the Eagles winning this game. It's going to be something weird. We sometimes go for 2 down there, some weird stuff. So let me go 29-24. The Eagles pull this one off, pull this one out, get to 3-0, and come home for the return of Dougie P. And Dan Green, while he's checking in, it's somewhere in that range too, 31-24. I'd love to see less points. I really would. But I think it's like kind of like similar lines as well. So we're both on the same script there that the Commanders will score a couple here and there. I read some good stats when Slay does follow McLaurin around. He kind of shuts them down. Now, McLaurin's got some like 6-7 catch games like Jefferson did. They're all under 60, 70 yards.
Yeah.
However, when Bradbury plays him, and if you put Bradbury on him, he's like going for like 110, 120 and multiple touchdowns. So let's just stick Slay on him. Let the other guys do a little bit of their thing, and we'll be just fine. We'll run that ball. We'll pound it. And I think that's going to be the key to this week's win. A lot of Jalen last game in the air. Jalen running first game. I think the running backs win this game. So that's where we're at. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's move on to NFL 3-part packs. Marc, looking right now, what's that? Oh,
Right.
3 packs, yeah. I'm 4-2 to start the season. You're 3-3, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm going to let you lead off to the people your first pick of the week.
Okay. So we have the Houston Texans, who were a winner for me last weekend. I'm going to ride them again. Excuse me. The Houston Texans are at the Chicago Bears, 2.5-point favorites. Chicago has been awful on offense. They really have not been able to do much. The first game at home against San Francisco, they won in the rainstorm. And, in the second game, Komet and Mooney have been, having fantasy managers scurrying, myself included, as I have Mooney in a couple leagues, but neither of them were started for me, thank God. And I have Komet in another league. I think the Texans play hard, and I think that this line being below 3 for Chicago at home, it says that, the money is moving towards the Texans. So I like the Texans to win outright in Chicago.
Nice. That would get those Houston Texans out to 3-0 ATS. And they're kind of I read some things about them earlier in the season, and some people were even having them second in the AFC South. And there are some possibilities there. They're a sneaky little team. What Fields throw for 89 yards last week? Something ridiculous. It was.
I just don't see the offense taking that step forward yet. Montgomery's been well, but besides that, they really just haven't been able to do much.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to start off with my first, and I'm going to go to the Joe Burrows. It's been bad. When Cincinnati, you sit there and lose to Mitch Trubisky and Cooper Rush in 2 games, you can yap all that yap about how you beefed up that O-line, but Burrow's been on his back 12 times, I think, so far this year. But on the flip side, you got the Jets. Joe Flacco whipping it around 45-plus times a game, then pulling off a miracle in Cleveland. The only team that could probably lose a game worse than that is the Atlanta Falcons. But Cleveland's right up there when they lose games. And they do it in some surprising fashions. And they did one last week, allowing 14 points to the hapless Jets in the last minute and a half there. So you got 2 really odd teams here and maybe headed in different ways. But I think they intercept, and I think Cincinnati goes very much more towards their 2021 form. I think they get things right this weekend up in New York. I think this is a time when everybody's starting to doubt them, putting on the Super Bowl curse. They still got the weapons. T. Higgins looked back to himself last week. They just got down last week, and they got a little bit probably off their line with how Cooper played, and Tony Pollard had a good game. I think they can be a little bit more controlled this week, and I think they're in a good position with the Jets coming off that very exciting win to really catch them at the right time. Cincy can't go 0-3. I guess Cincy covering the number and winning this game.
I like that because I actually was looking at this yesterday, and I was like, Jets, getting 5.5 at home. That's nice, right? But thinking about it, they're coming off of a big come from behind win, and the Bengals can't be that bad. Now, I had them, still making the playoffs.
Yeah.
I had them being a team that would be formidable this year. It's not been well for them, but I definitely like the Bengals to turn around here. They can't lose 3 games in a row like that to those 3 quarterbacks, including Joe Flacco. So
Yeah.
I like I said, at first I was leaning Jets, and I really took a second and thought about it, and I was like, no, Bengals have to take care of business here. So with that next one, I originally had I was going to touch the Raiders and Titans game, but I decided to move away from that. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers. They are road favorites. Now, what I've been saying is that you don't bet against a home dog, but this Denver Broncos team has been puzzling to me. San Francisco now has Jimmy Garoppolo back, and for some reason, there's still some magic there with Jimmy. The whole team's picking him up. Debo, I think, plays better with Jimmy. I don't know what the whole situation is. The vibes are just not right when it comes to Trey Lance with this team. I don't know if it was ever meant to be. The whole situation was weird from them trading up. Like, I get it. They didn't believe in Jimmy, but they go and trade for Trey Lance. Now, it has nothing to do with his injury. But then after week 1, he's at the strip club. Then he gets – I don't know. There's just a lot of weirdness surrounding the whole thing. But now it almost feels like they've been aligned back to where they're supposed to be with Lance being out for the season. So I like the way that they're going. And the Broncos in the other direction, I was huge. I wanted Russell Wilson big time. And looking at it now, and somebody made a good point. Like, he really, he still was talented, has been talented, since the Legion of Boom left and Marshawn and stuff like that, like back when, the last time they were at the Super Bowl, but he really hasn't done much with Seattle. Like, they really didn't do much more in the playoffs. Like, I was blinded about the potential, and don't get me wrong, I think Russell Wilson would still do good things here, but I think he's kind of become more shtick. I know you were talking about the corny factor, but it's not just the corny factor, just the way that he is played. Everybody knows how to play him now. There's injury that, Jerry Jeudy's hurt. Things are just not looking well for the Broncos. And Nathaniel Hackett, I think another sign of what was wrong with that was, I remember when they hired Nathaniel Hackett, they literally were doing it to bring in Rodgers. They wanted Rodgers. They figured if we get Hackett here, Rodgers will come. If you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have Nathaniel Hackett, who can't make decisions, and with Russell Wilson, the guy that, that wasn't their first choice. It's a bad remedy. I like the Niners here because they got some magic on with Jimmy G.
Well, I'm a Niners guy this year, so I like it. Good pick. Hey, I'm not picking the Tennessee game, but I'm just curious what side you were going to lean on if you did.
Well, I look back and I have my line wrong. For some reason, I thought it was Raiders plus 2.5. But
it's the other way.
Yeah. So
I like Tennessee a little bit. I think it's a Derrick Henry get right game, but I mean, we'll see. I just last year I keep going back to this Raiders team was 7-1 in close games decided by 6 points or less, and now they're starting to see what happens, and things get even pretty quickly here, and now they're 0-2 in games decided by 6 points or less. It's crazy how that works.
If anything, though, I probably would lean Raiders there just because of the way that they lost against Arizona and the way that Tennessee has been playing this year. I'm not really sold on them. That's the way I would lean, but 1.5 at Tennessee, I really don't like that number.
No. I was just curious. So my next team, I'm actually going to take one that felt like what I did last week too. When I took a team that looked pretty bad, really bad, awful, and that's the Arizona Cardinals, and they go out and they cover that line. Get a little lucky. Obviously, it took them some time to wake up, and once they woke up, they were able to get to overtime and cover that line. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts this week. They're sitting at, you'll find them in different markets. 6.5 is a really nice spot. I think you're going to see a situation here. Indy still has a very good defense. The offense is helping them out just none right now. And they're getting torched a little bit in the past game. But I think it can be a get-right week. This is 2 straight road games in division, playing Houston, playing Jacksonville. Coming out 0-1-1 is sure can be disappointing. And it should be disappointing for that team. I just think this is a spot where I think we're going to get a lot of KC money rolling in. And I just think the Colts are a little bit better than what they showed in the prior weeks. I think this line should be closer to 2 or 3. And especially if the Colts were sitting there at 1-1 or even 2-0, we'd see a Colts probably favored line. Jonathan Taylor's going to be okay. And then on the other side, I saw flaws in Kansas City's game last Thursday night. If it's not for, Herbert throwing that pick 6 near the goal line, they're going out there with an L, and they're behind pretty far in that division. So I feel like they got away with one. They do have that little extra rest, but the extra motivation is with Indy. I'll take Indy in the points.
Wow. That's a ballsy call. I gotta say, it's a ballsy call. I got 5.5 on FanDuel right now, but that's
by me 5.5. I'm still good with.
I like the cojones on that. I like the cojones on that. So I'm kind of gonna go. What may seem shocking may not be shocking after this past weekend of football, but we have the AFC East rivalry game because I really think that this is Bills Dolphins. I think this is the two of them going to be battling out for the division. That Baltimore-Miami game was crazy last week for Tua to bring that team back. The 2 Hill touchdowns, he was silent until, late in the game. Waddle played well. I mean, there was just offense all around in that game. And, that's what Buffalo's mantra has been. Their offense has been great. Defense has been good. They don't have a lot of pressure on them, so they've been able to take care of business. But the Buffalo Bills are coming off 2 big dominating wins. This is a division opponent. Dolphins, I have 6.5, are given 6 or have plus 6.5 at home. I like the Dolphins to play well in this game. I don't like them outright, but I like them to keep it close. I think this is a tough AFC divisional game. 3-point win for the Bills. So I like the Dolphins here.
I like that pick. I think we're at a point here where, there's got to be some teams that press Buffalo, and I think Miami could be one. So, yeah, I like it. I'm going to go with probably the marquee matchup on the NFC side later in the day. And that's the Green Bay Packers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like Tampa in this one. I know they're outside and, shorthanded. No Godwin, no Evans. I think it's going to be a heavy Leonard Fournette day. I think you might see some other guys step up, engage in some other pieces. But for me, looking at it, I do think a situation like this bears itself that Tampa's D is really good. Mm-hmm. And I know Rodgers got righted against Chicago, but I still think he has some issues in that passing game.
They ran the ball most of the way.
That's what it was. Yep. And that's going to be hard to do against Tampa. So, yeah, I really do like Tampa. I'll give it just bonus on the side. I love the Chargers, too. It's just one. I think Jacksonville is what it is. But, just for you bettors out there, I'm sticking with my 3-pack. That's just a bonus outside of it.
I wanted to see what that was. -7 at home.
Yeah, listen, Jacksonville lost by 7 to Washington. Everybody's going to be hyped now that they got that win against Indy. They're going to go out west and get a sharp realization. I mean, they've played some not great teams so far.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, Herbert's another step up. I think we see what Jacksonville is this week.
I look at it and I like it.
Yeah,
nice little bonus right there.
Yeah, it's probably my survivor pick too. I feel pretty good in that one. But all right, bud, let's move on to the Philadelphia Phillies. Now I know they're playing right now and they're cooking, but man, I tell you what, they're a team that is about to make me just completely lose interest in baseball. If they blow this lead, man, it's gonna be bad. But tonight's a chance. Now, listen, before even going into tonight,
Jesus,
they sat 3 losses up on the Brewers, right?
Yeah.
And really it's 4 because they have the season series against them. So out of 14 games, I mean, they'd have to go something. They have 15. Milwaukee has 4. They'd have to go something in the 7 and 8 range. Milwaukee has to go 10 and 4. So there's a lot that has to happen. But still, if you can't win a game in a week, it gets scary.
I'm nothing's impossible at this point with this team. Is it? Oh, they were just showing a highlight. I thought it was just a walk-off just now by JT. They're showing his home run last inning. Yeah, look, they're not making it easy for you. And even if the Phillies get in, if they just happen to, say they get the tires kicked in this, weekend against the Braves, I mean, if they get swept or they only win one, look, I need that. I need them to win. I need them to win 2 against the Braves. I really need them to pull this out tonight. So at least they're 3-3 on this homestand against the Blue Jays and Braves. If I can get that, I feel a little better. Can't have this team backsliding going into the playoffs. Like, it's honestly just a terrible look. Like, this after everything that we've been through this season, this would be such an aggravating way to go into the playoffs. And then if you don't do well, like, it just doesn't look good if you just happen to scrape by because you took 2 of 3 from the Cubs and you took, you swept the Nats, and then, and who knows what Houston's going to be doing when it comes to the end of the season like that. So they need to have momentum. Again, I know these are good teams. I know the Braves are good, and I know that the Braves are playing well right now, but Dominguez has now back-to-back terrible outings. I don't know what what situation was before, but Friday he got completely blown up. He got blown up tonight. Like, it's just frustrating watching this team, get so close, and then in September they just lose it. And this is just what we're seeing. Like, this was supposed to be the easier part of the schedule. Obviously, they had to get the good teams too, but not getting a win in a week, how can you consider that a playoff team? It just doesn't make any sense to me. You got to scrape 1 or 2 out in there somewhere.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And you got to beat a good team somewhere, somehow.
Right.
The loss last week when they were up 2-1 in Atlanta on Friday. I mean, just getting that first one would have just felt better. But Dominguez comes in, goes hit, home run, game over, right? And then tonight, he goes AWOL too, lets up the huge homer of Vlad Guerrero. There's no consistency in that bullpen right now, and it's scary. And it really concerns me. The only piece of good news we did get was to see Wheeler come back a little early. Yeah. Like I'll even say, because he didn't go for a rehab start.
No.
He said, I got to get up there. I got to go.
Yeah.
I'll pitch a simulation game, and we're rocking. And he pitched well tonight. 4 innings, shutout ball. Only, I think, 56 pitches. So maybe that's encouraging going forward here, and we could get in the steal a game or 2 as he stretches out to the playoffs. But the big thing is, Mark, and you know this too, if they can't get this thing right and they actually have to play that Houston series for something, it's over. Like that, Nola is lined to pitch the last game of the season. And if they can't find a way for him not to pitch that game, and then he ends up in game 3, which you might not even get to the wildcard round, it needs to get done sooner than later. And I mean, Milwaukee's still one of those teams that I don't think is very good, but their schedule is not hard going through here. They got the Pirates and they got the Cubs, and I think they got the Cardinals once. That's one thing that we need the Cardinals to come up big on, but
right. But now we're getting to the point where, we're scoreboard watching, hoping that the Mets take care of our work, that the Cardinals take care of our work, the Braves take care of our work. Like, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. This is so frustrating that they should not be in this position. They have been showing that they're a better baseball team than this. And, they're letting us down. And I hate when it comes to, like in football, I get it. It comes down to the last couple of games of the season, weird stuff happens. But when you're hoping that the Mets take care of the Brewers for you, like, it's not fun. And I agree. No. Like, this is something where if they weren't to make the playoffs here with the team that they have and the way that they've been playing, it really makes you think, like, if they couldn't do this, if they couldn't even get into a wild card spot, what am I doing wasting my time, investing in this so hard? Like, I know they've put the money in, and I know they made moves and they did everything like that, but this sets you back. If you don't get into the playoffs now, this sets you back hard.
Yeah, looks like we're going into extra innings. So before we talk about what we see going forward here with the Phillies, let me just let you guys in on something quick here. It's been a while since we ran a promo here on 4th and Go, but we've had a really unique opportunity to come across the Heat Ratio Sports Network, and we're excited to pair up with, a partner again. And it's great news for us because it really kind of lines up with a lot of what we do here and a lot of what we invest in. Now, if you can't probably see it closely here, I got some of my, favorite rookie cards sitting back here. My Tyrese Maxey. Oh, there he is, and I even got a Barrow there, Barrow, he'll get around. But I'm proud to bring to you an advantage that you'll have in the sports card industry, and that's breaking. And if you're not familiar with it, now's the time. The sports card industry is booming, and it's time to start collecting again, like I've started to do. No matter the sport, the novelty, and value of the hobby, they're at an all-time high. That being said, JN Sports Breaks is a Facebook page where it all comes full circle. Started by John and Nick, two blue-collar guys from the tri-state area. This page creates a fan-friendly atmosphere while giving the collector what they want. Whether you're new to the hobby or you're a seasoned collector, guy that loves to break all the time, JN has that break for you. Make sure you're following today for all the free promos, games, giveaways, and as a bonus, mention this ad, Fourth and Go here or Heat Ratio Sports. Either one, they both work, and you'll get $5 off your first break. Remember to follow JN Sport Break on Facebook. I'm going to post that up now at their Facebook app. And, man, have some fun. If you haven't been in a break yet, then be careful. You might get addicted. But, all right, Mark, as we go into, what's going to be here, what do they have to do to get in the playoffs? Looking at these last 14 games, how many do they got to win?
You got to go at least 8-6.
I think so.
There's a series there against the Cubs. The Cubs embarrassed you right after the All-Star break when you were riding momentum. You need to go get that series back. There's no doubt about it. I think they can take care of the Nationals. What is that, a 3 or 4 game series?
I went 4.
4. So that's 7 right there. You take 6 out of those 7. So there's 6-year wins right there. Excuse me. You take 2 games from the Braves
and get one tonight,
and then that's it. And that's all. That's all you need with Houston. And I think you take a game or 2 from Houston. I mean, I think they get above that 8, but this is huge. I think the way that you came back tonight, you lose this, and I think this actually sets you back. I would have rather have just seen them get smoked 3-0. And
I know.
If you lose this game, it really puts things into perspective.
It felt like a little bit last night too. Like you get down 7-1, you get to 7-5 in the 5th, and Harper gets thrown out, being in no man's land. And I know he's an aggressive base runner, and there many times out of night, I'm good with what he does, but I kind of took the air out. Then all of a sudden it's 10-5, then it's 10-7. Then it's 14-7, then it's 14-10, and you just feel like maybe we're coming back, but we always let something up as soon as we came back. That's what tonight's going to feel like too. If they somehow, some way, who the hell's in this game? They let Coonrod go. Who is this? Is this Bellotti?
Andrew Bellotti.
God. Oh, God.
I know.
I wonder, where's Robertson? Did he pitch?
He already pitched.
All right. Thank God. All right. All right.
1 out.
He got the 1 out. All right. Did they move the base runner or no?
No.
All right.
No, Linc not.
I'm with you. So realistically, here's what I think. I think 8 is kind of spot on. It's 15 if you count tonight. So 8-7. We'll take 8-7. They're not catching us at 8-7 because that has to put them out there somewhere in the 11-3 mark. That's not happening. But
crazier things have happened though. Just
what's that?
Crazier things have happened if
they
don't want the Phillies to get to the playoffs. But I agree.
I think 8-7, I think, is a good number of a minimum, right? Because not that that's the minimum that gets them in, but it's a minimum of how they really need to be playing to get in too. So I like where your mind's at. Really, we'd love to see 9-6, 10-5. Yeah. And personally, I need 7 because I need them to get the hell to 87 wins. Scaring the shit out of me. I had the 86.5. Felt like that thing was locked in.
A couple weeks ago, you're looking great.
Oh, I was already spending it, bro. I was already doing something with it. But now I got to sweat it out. But I think somewhere in the 8 range will get us in. And here is the one other part that I wanted to talk to you about before we switch gears one more time in this show. I honestly think if we do get into that 6th spot, it's the better spot. The Cardinals are the better spot.
Yeah, there were people saying that, it would make sense for the Phillies to end up in the 3rd wild card spot because of who they would draw. That's great, but you don't want to do it based on, falling back. Not even tanking, but just losing it. They've lost their gumption.
Yeah. Now, he's getting his radio fixed?
I was wondering what that was. For a second, I thought it was
it's the transmitter
like that. Yeah,
it's that pitch thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very weird.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, but to play St. Louis, I think is way more, and they're good. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm gonna think they're favored in that series, but it's better than facing the Braves or the Mets.
Yeah,
They're
no,
like,
I agree with that. Trust me, I would rather St. Louis all day, every day. But
yeah, dude, this little fat guy cracks me up. This Alejandro Kirk.
it seems like that's like the trend this year. The Mets have that
Oh,
guy
Vogelbach.
Vogelbach. Yeah,
Yeah, yo, this guy hits like over 300 too. These dudes just
they
they
rate.
rake. Yeah. Which scares me in this situation because he was a guy he likes to drive the ball to the right side. Guerrero's not the fastest, so if we can keep this just in. Well, did you see something I didn't?
No, it's not. It's not baseball related. It's actually basketball related. Which
Well,
is
let's switch gears to that then right now. As we got a lot of Phillies in. Let's go to our next team up, and that's the 76ers NBA action. What do you got?
it involves a rival. Woj just put out a very vague tweet, but it's breaking news that Boston Celtics coach Ime Udoka is facing possible disciplinary action, including a significant suspension for an unspecified violation of organizational guidelines. Discussions are ongoing with the Celtics on a final determination. Very interesting. So, like, what could that be? Sounds like there's something.
Personal conduct, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. And they lost the big guy, Robert Williams, for like
Robert
6
Williams.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did some moves in the offseason I thought that were pretty good to shore them up. You know what they do? It was like they got a more athletic guard in there. It'll come back to me. But the Celtics did a few things. I was like, that's nice.
They kept themselves, yeah.
Yeah. Did we walk this guy yet?
Now we did.
Okay.
If we want to talk about the Sixers, a little interesting tidbit that came out, especially now that the Suns are, selling off the team. Looks like they are in the market to trade Jay Crowder. With that being said, some people are linking the Sixers to Jay Crowder. What are your thoughts on them finding a path to bring him here?
I like Jay Crowder. I like that he brings that kind of like, I mean, it's stretch 4 and away, but he's like a 3. But like,
Right.
I like the attitude he brings. He is a good shooter. He's a good player. I feel like he's a better PJ Tucker. So, but you already have PJ Tucker, so he's got the meanness in him. He's got the fight. He's got the dog. He's got the things we all like. But I don't know how much of that, like, there's not enough ball in the court. I don't know if I need him because it's Tobias. Like, how are you going to get him?
Right. So I heard a scenario where you bring in a third team. So you're trading out Matisse, Springer, Korkmaz, and maybe Niang.
Okay.
The other team that they had. Maybe was it Utah? It might have been Utah.
No, they'll do anything right now.
The Suns won who was it? It's not Boban. Is it Bojan? Bogdanovich?
I thought they got rid of him at the end of last. Oh no, they still got him. They got rid of the lefty. Yeah, they got rid of the Australian at the end of last season. Kind of messed up.
Oh yeah. What's his face?
Joe Ingles. Yeah.
Ingles.
But Bogdanovich is
there was
still
a report that came out that he said he thinks he's getting traded soon.
Ingles or
Bogdanovich.
Okay. Yeah, I think
because he was hurt, and I think he either went to Portland or somewhere like that. He went.
Yeah, I think Utah's in total salary dump mode.
They are. So it's possible. Like I said, some people, the Sixers are interested. The one thing I would love to have him there, I think he's got a lot of postseason experience. I think he would be good for this team. Agree with you that he kind of is PJ Tucker. And I think it would be weird. I just think the room is crowded. And I agree. The room is crowded now. It would be like an abundance of riches. Is there enough playing time for everybody? So I get that part, but I would love to have him here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to have him here. I don't need to give up much. Like it'd have to be a really good deal because I do feel like we're in a good position right now. And I do think we're in good shape. So Trez coming in. We talked a little bit about that last week.
Yep.
Kind of brings that dog too, right? We got a lot of fight on this team now. So I'm kind of in a good spot. I mean, I already think they're 9 deep if you kind of add Trez as the backup center, right?
Right.
You're definitely finding time, trying to get Niang mixed in.
It's good because there's not the
I mean,
emphasis.
I
You don't have
guess
to worry about the defensive liability when you need somebody who can hit some threes for you. He's a perfect pop and play.
Well, you still got Melton too,
Right.
him in there off the bench, and House. So I mean, you're already House, Melton, Trez and Niang deep. Like I don't know where.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even talking Tybal. Like
Right.
he's
Not
10,
talking Tybal, not talking Shake. Yeah.
and no cork marks.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. I if you could get them for a combination of those three, yeah, all right, I'm in. But
Right.
I don't know how much I want to touch the top 5, 7 on this team right now. I want to see what
Yeah.
happens. Oh God, this guy sucks. I mean, it's 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're about 10 seconds ahead of me.
Yep.
I don't like your face.
No, so far I'm waiting for Bellotti to pitch.
Okay.
Here we go. Ball. Damn it.
Base is loaded.
Yep.
Oh, he sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, oh God, dude, he's walked the last 2.
I know. I don't understand how you have Bellotti in the game at this point, but here we are.
Yeah, at one point when this bullpen looked like somewhat of a strength, it's bad. And like when Toronto's bullpen is actually pretty decent, so they probably got somebody good. Yeah, Bellotti. I don't know what to say anymore. Anyway, I'm pumped about the Eagles. I'm pumped about the start of training camp with Sixers and the Flyers. They're coming around the corner very soon too, and I'm starting to get a little bit of that mojo. I know Couturier got a little bit.
Say, are you? Things are not looking good.
I know. I think they signed Anisimov. I thought I saw. He hasn't been in the NHL in a couple of years, but at one time he was pretty good. But the Couturier thing, yeah, that's concerning. I guess
the Ryan Ellis thing. He's still far away.
Yeah, it's just the Torts thing, I guess, for me. I'm excited to see him.
I saw something. I don't know if it was a fan that wrote something to the Flyers, but he put out a letter and he put out a statement. And the gist of it was, if somebody's not playing hard for me, you won't see them. You won't see much of them. So I agree with you on the Torts aspect. I like him as a coach. I just think this team is so dreadful. This year is going to be tough. Hopefully they just ride it out and stick through it. Obviously, he's not going to get the can, knowing the type of crash that he's been given. So I hope that, they have a chance to flush this team out, figure out who's here to stay and who's got to go. And next year, maybe they could be something with him. But I think he's going to bring that dog mentality where he's like, if you're not playing well and you don't do what I want, you're out. Like he's made it clear. He's going to expect those guys to play for him. I mean, look, these guys, I don't think anybody on this team has warranted, safety.
Yeah, no, they're not. And great article, about him and his coaching style. And he has said he's tempered his probably flare-ups more, but he's still got them. And a lot of times people say it's very strategic. Like he just knows when he wants to come in and light up the room. And sometimes he'll just light up something else just to take spotlight off his team. So he's definitely scripted in the way he wants to get his message across. So I'm just excited to see if he can get this team he wants that forecheck. He wants that pop. He wants to create turnovers. That's his big thing. He wants to make it hectic. He wants to make it all about mayhem, and then maybe open up the ice and get some good odd man rushes. And I like it. I mean, you're not going to beat people with just strictly skill. 5-on-5. You're gonna have to create
Especially
those.
Not this team. They don't have it.
Yeah. Yep. All right, bud. That wraps up. We got to all 4 tonight. And until I guess we're gonna stay up a little bit and see what happens here with the Phillies. But hopefully we get one and we're talking good news, good stories. Eagles win in Washington and the Phillies just about to clinch a playoff spot. First time in 11 years. It's gonna be a good show next week. Fingers crossed. Until then, I'm Dave. That's Mark. We're 4th and Go. Follow us on Twitter. Hit us up. Let us know what your thoughts are. We're always tweeting. We're always out there with the public because we are the Philly voice. Voice of the fans. Got that passion, that pride, because that's what we do here in Philadelphia. Until next week, Winning Wednesday.